welcome to Nat's Knackers Yard After Dark. That's not to say it's going to be any bluer or any different, it's just the fact that it's dark and it's a midweek one. So where are we? Here in front of you have the carburetor from the XS650 from the Yamaha. Why have I taken it off? In the previous video would have seen my issue with the cold pipe. Off camera I've swapped the leads over, swapped the sparks over, and I'm pretty convinced that the coil is knacked, or at least one of the HT, not HD as I said before, the HT lines is faulty, because when I swapped over the HT cables and the spark plugs, the cold pipe followed it, if you see what I'm talking about there. So that's the issue. So I've ordered a new one, should be here by the weekend, and that should cure that issue. But whilst I can, and whilst I'm waiting for parts, due diligence and all that, it's have a dig through the carbs and see what we got. And you see the first thing that we've got on the carbs, so on the, let me think this through, yeah, on the right bank, we see here, I do have some rust actually on the blade, which is a bit concerning, because fuel isn't going to make it rust, water will, so it's had water in there at some point or another. The saving grace though is, I'm not sure how much you can see, you should be able to see, but it's not interfering the edge, so the edge is still nice and clean, so I'm still getting a clean throttle from that right hand carb. So I'm not overly concerned, but I do just want to get rid of what I can before it gets worse. Now, the best way of making sure that it doesn't get worse is to seal it on the bike and use it. So it looks like at some point or another this bike has been stationary for a long time. Now this was an import, excuse me, it's a US import, and it's only been in the country a couple of years. So this is either from being sat outside the previous owner's back garden, which is possible. If you think about this on the bike, so actually let's orientate you the right way, like it's on the bike. It's a bitch to get off, by the way, when I'll film getting it back on, but the frame bends through this section, so it's a real pain in the arse to get through. But anyway, if you think of how this is on the bike, it's generally like that because it's spent a lot of time on its side stand, because the centre stand has, or the foot peg, if you like, on the centre stand is broken, so it's been like that. Now, whether or not that means this has had less coverage, more opportunity to rain to get in it, I don't know. So I don't really know how old that is, how old that rust is, but we shall see. In fact, what I'm going to do is try and keep it orientated this way from now on, so you've got right and left. Right, what am I going to do? Superficial stuff. That pipe's really chewed. Got some decent stuff over just off screen, so I'll have a look at that. Let's just have a cursory view at what we can see and listening to the diaphragms. Yeah, they don't sound too bad actually, but I will have a look. But first things first is to whip the bubbles off and have a look at what we've got inside. So let's see what we can do. Now, the normal, make sure you're on screen, the normal deal I think you find with a lot of tools is, as much as you find the right tool for the right job, these are really loose. I suppose I'm not having to monkey grip them off, but they are very loose. Yeah, though you have the right tools for the right job and all, you do have your ones, your old faithfuls. This one is mine. It's just a simple cut across, but it seems to work on most stuff. Right, I do need a pot to piss in. pot to piss in. I mean, a pot to put stuff in. You can't beat your Chinese takeout ones. Just if you're anything like me, you do have a tendency of putting things down, forgetting where you put them. One advantage with doing things like this in the warm in a kitchen, along with some unofficial sponsorship, this time by Orangy Boom. I'm not playing with fuel, I'm not playing with fire, I'm not playing with sparks. So therefore, I don't feel too bad about having a beer while I'm doing it. Right. Screws are actually coming out really quite clean. Right, one thing I must remember to do, because I am horrendous for it, is to remember to do up the drains. So obviously when I took it off, I undid the drains to get rid of the remnants of the fuel inside, and I routinely forget to do them back up again. It's a bit tricky to get off. That's very straight. Oh, no, the whole thing. Ah, that's unusual. I was expecting to see a thin rubber weld on it, and it's the whole thing is the gasket. Yeah. That's quite funky. Right. So what have we got? I was going to say that looks dirty, but it's just pitted. But I don't know if that's just pitted by design. Aside from that, it looks clean enough. Float is bouncy, although that float valve is falling off. I don't know if that was me or if it was like that when I opened it. Right, I've got jets there that are 135 as the main jet. And that is a big flat boy. Let's have a look at that. Whoop. I wonder if I've got a wider one in here. Yeah. So they're just being extra cautious that it's only brass, it will strip very easily if I wedge it too hard. That looks nice and clear to me. That is a 135. I do have written somewhere the proper jetting sizes for these. Right, pilot jet is all the way down there, so I'm going to need something small to get in, and it's a lot of the reason I initially bought this little changeable set was it had nice long and flat screwdriver ends in it. Jesus, that is loosely done up. I didn't even need the screwdriver attachment for that. That ring just come off there. That is the idle jet. Again, looks quite clean. Crikey, that's tiny. But I can blow through it. I will whack a bit of carb cleaner through it just in case. Oops, that was close. I just nearly pushed WD-40 through it, expecting it to be my air. Yeah, let me see if I can spot what size that is. 42.5, I think, 42.5. Right, now, just give me a couple of minutes. I can see a metal ring and presumably a rubber O-ring underneath that, so I'm less concerned. What I'm going to do actually, because that fell out a second ago, is just take that out. Right, the ribbed side down, happy. Right, let's see if I can just wedge that out a little bit. There we go. Right, so that's gone. We'll go back in right to left. That, don't forget that. So that way. I will orientate it that way when I put it down. Float looks nice and new, or float valve looks nice and new. Right. This is a little cup to hold in the valve, float valve receptor, I suppose. This should just want to pop out. It's only held in by suction and an O-ring. I might have to just grab a little pair of pliers. In fact, I'm going to do that. Grab a pair of needle nose and give that a tug. Whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to look up what the jetting should be according to Tel Internet. So back in the room, and I've just whipped the main float housing out. The O-ring looks in fine fettle, which I am happy with. I'm pretty sure there's a filter down at the bottom of that, but I can't quite see. Are you going to come out with a bit of encouragement? Or am I going to risk breaking you by trying to do so? And there's a fine mesh over that. I can tell there's a fine mesh over it because it's a bit boggy. I'm not sure you can quite see in there, but there is like a dome with a mesh over it, and I can't see how to get to that. Certainly not from another end. Just get a bit of carb cleaner in there. By a bit, obviously, I meant quite a lot. Well, that's our damn sight cleaner. Can't quite see how I get in there to get it out without risking damaging it too much. Where's that mini screw? There we go. No, that's not coming out to play. Never mind, I will just clean that in situ, I think. So effectively that sits over the top of that. That's just a screw hole there. Oh. Got you off centre there, do apologise. That's just a screw hole, not bothered about that, but it's the mesh that I just need to give a quick once over lightly because I don't want to jam that through it. That's fine. I was just doing some exploring in the garage actually, because the actual bowl's lovely and clean, but I don't think whoever's cleaned it has done much of anything else. Yeah, what was I going to say? So I had a check-up The idle jet is stock 145. The 45. The main jet is stock at 135, which gives me a couple of issues, because obviously that stock is accounting for certainly an airbox with probably a damn sight more restriction on it than it currently has. It's also accounting for probably not straight through pipes like this one has now got. So what? Probably needs upjetting from 135. Arguable by how much. It's normally 1 or 2 potentially per mod, if you like. So the high flow pods, it would probably be a +1. The straight through exhaust would probably be another one, taking it up to a 137. I do have 140s that were originally in a EM450 that was a bobber. I tried in my Suzuki SV650 because of its stupid exhaust, but I've now replaced that exhaust with a stock exhaust. So I've put the old original jets back in that, and it does now mean that I have a pair of 140s that, do you know what, I'm going to give a go in this and see if it makes any difference at all. It's only jets, they can go in and out, that's fine. Right, so happy. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I won't bother filming it unless there's anything spectacular within it. By spectacular, I can actually see some of the diaphragm sticking out, which is slightly concerning. In fact, I'll film this. I'll just grab another takeout tray. I'll grab another takeout lid. We need more takeout because I've run out of holders. Yeah, so this is slightly concerning that whoever did this clean last time seems to have been fortunate and got away with the fact that they put the fucking bowl on crooked. Oh, sorry, certainly put the diaphragm around it incorrectly. None of these are particularly tight either. I'm quite surprised it's held as is. Not that they need to be 8 strength done up or impact driven, which everything else seems to be nowadays. And unfortunately throughout January and February probably will as well, when lunatics get them for Christmas and use them on everything. Come on. Come on, give it up. Your mother did. That's caught something. Ah, that'd be why. That trapped diaphragm was caught. Oh, that's unusual. Well, it's not unusual that one's stuck on the other one. No, the other one was on the same way as well. Being a little bit cautious because I haven't got a replacement. Again, it's dark, but it's not coming off. It's fine. It's a 40-year-old bike. Right, let's do the same dismantling. Yeah, that's all right. I don't have a problem with that. It looks a bit darker inside this one. Let's see how it looks under. So that is outside in, the same as the other one was. Nah, remember that. I'll orientate that the same way on my board. Oh, nearly lost my jet. Yeah, it's a bit darker in this one, but I don't think any of that's crud. I think that's stain. Oh no, it is a bit cruddy. It will come off. That's fine. Happy with that. Right, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did on the last one. Strip it down a bit. I won't bother burning your time doing it. Right, and back again. This time the full deal came out. So that's the little gauze on the end there. It's doing its job and catching those couple of little bits of crap that are on there. I'll take that off in a second. So looking at how fragile it was, I'm glad I didn't muscle around trying to clean that other one out too much. Right, so all I'm going to do now is have a spruce round and through all the tubes and pipes, etc., etc., and just make sure that it's all nice and free. Be right back. Okay, so we're about as clear as we're going to be. I've put the two float holders back in. It's now really a case of just backtracking what you've done. Always the best way of doing it is to do it in the same order, which I'm quite blatantly not doing. But as a parent, I'm quite used to do as I say, not as I do. Right. I'm dubious, but I'm going to try the 140 jets as opposed to the 135s as the stock. Can always whip them out. 140. Always, always, always keep your jets. Because even if you don't use them on the same bike, you'll certainly use them on something. Right, so finger tight but not ape strength. Happy. Right, float. Oh. That's amazing, that just disappeared. There you go. Right, how was the other one on? It was on with the bend to the back. That way. Yeah, that and bend to the back. Good. These look quite new. On and bend to the back. Carefully in. Out to in, if I remember correctly. And in. That one's complete. This one on. Where's my screw gone? There we go. Just to hold the pilot jet. Whoop. It's not the pilot jet, sorry. The float valve holder in. Orange Boom sponsorship. .140 jet. Like I say, I think it's a bit high. But you've got to try these things, haven't you? If I had a 137, I'd probably chuck it in. If I had a 138, I'd probably put that one in. I've got a 140, I'll put a 140 in. Right, cool, happy. I'm going to put the bowls back on, won't bother filming it. Oh, no, hang on. Sponsored by a Rangy Boom. Nearly forgot to put the float valve back in. I wouldn't have forgotten. I just wouldn't have admitted it on film. On film, God, that ages you, doesn't it? It's not exactly on film anymore, is it? Right, let's give that a bit of a pinch in. That's as far in as it was. I don't think that's going to impede the bulb hooking back on. Right, I'm going to chuck the bulbs back on, and I won't bother filming it because it's just 8 screws. And I just found 2 more jets, which is probably going to make me look particularly stupid, but I've not come across this before. In the face of the carb, so this is the airbox end. Yeah, jet there, jet there. It's really, so I'm surprised to find them. I know whoever's been working on this bike has never found them because they are gopping. They are absolutely filthy to the point where I'm not entirely sure I can make out what they are. So I realise you can't see there. I've just taken to a bit of 1000 grit to that. I think that's 135. Now, the Facebook page I got when I requested the jetting sizes as OEM ones, it did come back and they gave me a main jet, a throttle jet, and an idle. So, is that the throttle jet? It would make sense. The main jet on a normal, in inverted commas, carb is in the float bowl. So maybe these are the throttle jets. I don't know. I do not know. So maybe I need to upjet these as well. What I do know, I haven't got anything else to upjet them to, frankly. I've got like 125s, I think, in there, which is obviously down jetting. If you can see those, they are pretty hideous, so they need a decent soak. So I'm going to give those a decent soak while I piss around with the fuel hose and swap that out with some decent new braided stuff that I've got just here. So I'm just going to find a small container / lid and give those a bit of a soak. Right, so the jets that I've taken out of here that I've assumed to be the throttle jets, just give them a good scrape off and a clean off and chucked them back in to soak a little bit more. They are 135s. Yeah, I'm assuming they're the throttle jets. But what can I say? It's the first time I've worked on a bike that's 5 years younger than I am, which is slightly terrifying. But yes, I'll leave those to soak. So I've replaced the fuel pipe, which is now a damn sight better. I've also remembered to do up the drain bolts, the drains, which is unusual for me. I don't normally like pissing around with the diaphragms too much, but I just think while it's off the bike, it would be a bit foolish not to have a look. I've also got the air fuel screws there that look a little bit shites as well. So let's have a look at those as well while we go. In fact, I'm going to do those first because I should have done them before, but I've only just noticed them. Alright, so let's just check what they were set on. So let's just screw them in as far as ratchet screwdriver drives me nuts. Let's get it so you can see. Oh, that's that's nasty in there. Right, so that's half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.25. So 3.25 on that side, and that, don't forget that. Let's check on the other. Right, we're in half, 1, 1.5, 2, and seated. So 3.25 and 2. Right, okay, interesting. Let's just whip them out. Give them a bit of a clean around. Although, to be fair, they're in a good position because that's going to make it a damn sight easier. To piss around with later, although it's got some proper kick in the top of it. Let's get that one out first. Yes. Oh, the actual needle itself's fine. The top end of it's a bit shite. Right, let's get the other one out and do a bit of a compare and contrast. Why are you now clicking, Ratchet, you pain in the ass? Like I say, a great screwdriver for the small attachments, but ratchets pee me off. It's always set up for what you used it for last, which is invariably the wrong direction. Yes, proper kick in that one as well. Come on. Not the best cinematography in the world, I apologise. Stay. So again, dodgy as you like, but the blade itself, or the needle itself, is okay. Let's just give a quick blast in the recess that it's left behind. I probably should have done all of that when it was on. I call it an air fuel screw, but it's on the fuel side, isn't it? On this bike. Yep, it's not sure how much you can see, but it's certainly popping out the bottom. Don't know what the factory is for this, so that was 325 and 2. I can pretty much guarantee it wasn't that. Give that a bit of a clean off while I've got it. Probably holding it by the functional needle is not the best of ideas. actually too bad. The brass looks fine. I think I will just go for the box standard 2.5, and remember that you've done that. First click, all the way in, and seated but not forced. So it's 12 o'clock there, so that's half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and ditto with tether. All the way in and seated, preferably without destroying the head on the top of the screw. Yep, that's 12 o'clock again. So half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. That'll do me for that. Right, let's get this. Yeah, let's get these diaphragms off. See what we got. See what we're working with. That's a bit tighter. Apologies for my hand being in the way, but I can't undo screws without them. They've been painted silver. Actually a bad idea. Got some silver paint. Two. 3. 4. It's difficult to tell if that was, no, that's been, I'm sure that's been painted just to look better. Not a bad idea as things go. Where's that from? Wrong one. 1, 2. Right, this is held on by a spring, so I'm not saying it's going to take your head off. It's not like a fork spring, but it's not a lot of fun crawling around on the floor trying to find it when it's disappeared. So I've just got some pressure on it. 1, 2. Right, nice and gently. Ooh. There you go. There's the springy bad boy. Right, I'm paranoid about diaphragms, but I can see how it goes on. All I'm doing is looking for obvious holes, which I can't see, which is good. Give it a slight push from underneath. And carrying on going because my phone just filled up, so I just had to dump off a load of old stuff. So that, I haven't quite checked to see how far you got. That diaphragm is fine. Cool. That's been monkey strength, that one. See if I can get something in there a little bit better. That's better, I think. That one's not coming out, so I'm not going to check this diaphragm. And I caught my camera flying across. Try that again. Just to rub it in, my ratchet decided to change its setting. Okay, so that works. I just don't think this one's going to budge. Right, let me go grab my mole grips. I've got a bit of WD here as well. So a little bit of fine encouragement from mole grips, which helps because these are nice and accessible. There's, I remember which one it is. Right. Get rid of some of that schmeagum. Watching that spring. And again, looks to me like we have a good diaphragm with no holes, so I'm not going to poke it out and have a look around with it, because all I'm going to end up doing is giving it holes. Make sure that's all lined up. And back on. And with the exception of chucking those what I assume to be throttle jets back in, that have been that have been soaking nicely while we're doing all of this. The only bit that I need is that bridge sheet between the two there, which I'm about to give a scrub down off camera. And then just chuck a bit of silver paint on it. It is visible, it is between the carbs. I've got silver paint. If I had to buy any silver paint to do it, I wouldn't bother, but because I've got it. And also it's silver paint that I bought for doing the detailing on bodywork, because it was in the middle of Lidl or something like that. You know, it was cheapy £3 stuff that I'm not going to use for bodywork because it's got no sparkle to it. It's just silver colour. I think it was in their Christmas selection. So yeah, I'm not going to use it for what I bought it for, so I might as well use it for something else. So what I'm going to do is give this a rub down, get rid of the rust, and then just spray some silver on it. On a bit of card, poke those through so the heads are up and they can get a little bit as well. Right, now before I forget, let's just sort out these jets. There you go. So they don't look perfect, they look a damn sight better than they did earlier. To the point where now you can at least read what it says on them without having to sand them down first. And they also have the right amount of flow going through them as well. Where's that little, there we go. It's too small. There you go. spot on. Right, so that is those bad boys back in and ready to go. Right, happy. One stripped, cleaned, rebuilt carb with the exception of the bridge, and I'll do that later. Will it work? Don't know. I honestly don't. No reason why it won't. I'm not really going to get a decent test of it until I've got the new coil, because it's going to only burn on one side. If it's only burning on one side, it's not going to be burning uniformly, so it's going to whinge and pop and everything else it's been doing until that gets fixed. So I'm not really going to be able to tell whether my endeavours were successful until the new element arrives. Just make me wonder what that's for. Would have been the airbox. Yeah, okay, no, that's fine. Yeah, I am going to order new AirPods at some point. I haven't done it yet. The ones that are on it are fine, they work. If they do look a bit rough around the edges, but yeah, happy with that. My first experience with an XS650 carb surprised me a couple of times. I'm still not entirely sure of a couple of bits, but there's enough logic there to see how that fits through. Just while I'm going, just cleaning stuff as I go. Right, and that's interesting. One to remember, that it looks like the carb effectively has, the choke effectively has click into half choke, click into full choke. So it's not scalar, it's binary. Well, binary, 3-state binary. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's not scale, you can't just pull it, it's one, it's either on, off, or it's half. Right, okay, that's one worth remembering. Happy. Yeah. I think as far as syncing these carbs go, don't look, they don't look a million miles off. Yeah, cool. Right, that'll do me for the evening. Put all my crap away. Give that a scrub down. And chuck a bit of paint on it, I think. Why not? Just got to remember, it's got to go that way, it makes room for the fuel pipe. Right, cool, right. Carbs, XS650. Done as good as I can with the tools I've got, the knowledge I've got, and the spares I've got. Cheers all.